My man.
How you doing?
I am exhausted, bro.
Yeah, long weekend?
Long few weeks, bro. I've been out like 13 out of the last 15 days or something. I don't even know.
You taking some time off now?
Yeah, I got like 8 days off or something. Hey everybody, welcome back to Sand Dog Kayak Adventures. I am at Kayakers Disneyland, aka Pure Watersports. Owner-operator Chris Boyer just showed up. I have a bunch of work for Chris. I've got so much stuff to do, so many things to get fixed and done and added and this and that. And by looking at Chris's truck, he's got a bunch of crap to do too. Let me put my stuff in, I'll start helping you. Oh, no.
Hey guys!
So now I'm inside. We've got all my stuff inside. We're here at Pure Watersports. I'm gonna have them fix my bait tank. I have 3 sets of fins that need fixing. I have a short in my fish finder. I have all kinds of crap that needs fixing in. So Pure Watersports, they can do anything and everything. So I brought all my stuff up here. As a matter of fact, let me show you. Short or something in this thing, or my pump went out, I'm not sure. 3 fins that need fixing. Here's the fish finder short. I have. This is a surprise. I'm going to tell you guys about this later. One of my wheels, this wheel I think has got a small hole or something. I might need a new wheel or something, so fix that. That's it for now. But I'm going to leave them the GoPro. And usually have a great opportunity to see some guys, professionals fixing stuff and stuff like that, so I'm sure it'll be really interesting for you guys. Right now I'm going to give you a look around the store. It looks like it's jam-packed full of Hobies. I love the color of this Lynx. Look at that, dude. What's the name of this color? Dude, I love it. I like it
too. I think it's a great color.
I think it's a great color, dude. Exactly. It looks good with the gray.
That's Catalina blue.
Catalina blue.
Catalina wine mixer.
Then of course we got the tandem with the Bimini, and then the Monster PA.
Yeah.
And then these two right here, just so you guys know, they were donated by a person for Heroes on the Water. So that's pretty awesome, dude. So don't forget, everybody here is associated with Heroes on the Water. So if you have any donations, any rods, reels, any old tackle, anything like that, even if you want to donate a boat like that person, donate a couple of boats, but it goes to Heroes on the Water. So if you give somebody Heroes on the Water, you can write it off, 501c3. So think about that. Do something good for some vets who have done some good for you.
What's up, everyone? Brian, Pure Watersports here in Oceanside. So Glenn today asked me to asked if he could bring his live well in to get some maintenance done. And just by the base, the looks of it, Glenn, it looks like you drug it across the sand 100 times. So before we jump into doing maintenance on this, I'm going to take it apart. I'm going to look at the motor, ensure there's no debris in it, and kind of walk you guys through some really good maintenance tips to help you maintain your live well so you don't have to bring it in like Glenn. So here we have a version 1 live well that Glenn brought in again. It's pretty beat up, but what I want to do is I'm showing you the intake tube that's connected to your Tsunami motor, which runs internally inside the live well. You're going to make sure all this obviously is disassembled, but you're going to take the actual plastic screw off the bottom that your intake tube gets attached to, and you want to keep all this stuff, right? And then this is where you pull out your Tsunami motor. Now, this is where 90% of you guys, if you do this every time you get off the water, you'll avoid this situation. But 9 times out of 10, between Chris and I, when we see maintenance that needs to get done on an actual live well, it's only because some of the guys need to remove the debris that's within the Tsunami, the motor. So in that situation, you want to take the tab here, you want to press it in and rotate it, right? Just to open your motor right up, okay? Now this hasn't been opened up yet, Glenn. So we're going to take a look at how much grinding Glenn does on the water, and you can see if you don't take care of the corrosion underneath, this is what you run into. So you have the internal components inside the motor. You have the little wheel that turns, that actually provides the plunging motion, that pulls the water inside the actual live well. And you can see here, if you look close, we have a little bit of dried eelgrass. As that builds up on the wheel, it will slow your wheel down. So it's extremely important to pay attention to this and pull this stuff out. Every time you come back from the water, you have to do maintenance on this, okay? Now, looking down towards the actual plastic insert here, don't put any grease on this to seal it up, because all you're doing is that grease will come loose in the salt water, and then it'll slow the motor down. It'll get with internally in the. So just leave this normal. You don't need to put any grease or any type of lubrication on it to keep it from opening, closing, or whatever you want to do. But it looks like, Glenn, we're going to have to clean this out, and then I'll get back to you with more information. As I took apart the motor, what I'm doing right now is I'm actually going through with, you can use whatever tool you want that can reach in there, but what you want to do is you want to apply a small needle nose type of tool or whatever, where you can get in here and remove your debris carefully, because this is all wrapped around your motor. And if you don't get this stuff cleaned out regularly, you run into issues like this. And once we've checked this motor and the motor is cleaned out and it's basically debris ridden, obviously we're going to install it, and then the next thing we'll do is check to see how our electrical connections are with the motor, to ensure the motor isn't bad. So that'll be the next step we do after I clean off this Tsunami, and then we'll go from there. Okay, now that I went through and cleaned out the Tsunami motor, you can see all the debris has been removed from it. It's nice and clean. There's no oil, sand, or anything on it. Next thing we're going to do is I'm going to set it down, and because it's hard lines straight to a positive and a negative, I'm going to operationally check it right now, connecting it to the battery to make sure that the motor is operational. Okay, so I got my battery here, positive, negative terminals, positive, negative. We're going to go ahead and hook it up and ensure that the motor is operational or not. What it looks like, there's a little bit of corrosion in there. It's usually what happens when you get a lot of salt water on your connectors, gentlemen. So it's, like I said, it's super important to keep this stuff covered with some electrical grease of some sort. I heard WD-40 is the new latest and greatest for electrical connections, but I'm gonna make the connection. I'm gonna put negative black, obviously. The positive is gonna be the brown. So we'll connect that, and the motor should run if we got good connection. So no, we don't have a running motor. See, the motor's on a standstill. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove these two connectors. I'm gonna basically cut them, splice them, and then reconnect the positive and a negative to ensure that we have an operational motor. Okay, so as I said before, we have a little bit of corrosion on our connectors. You want to use one of your wire crimpers that you can get anywhere. You're going to cut off as close as you can, because you want to salvage your pump line, because this motor may be fine, it just needs a new connection. So I'm going to cut it off as close as I can to the end here. Same thing goes with the other positive and negatives. Bingo, right? Then you're going to look down and ensure that there's no salt water that is made its way down into the wiring. That's super important to pay attention to, because depending on how far down that salt water went into that line, could essentially basically made your motor inoperable. So from what it looks like, it was just on those connectors. So I'm going to remove a little bit of plastic off the end of these positive and negative connectors. So you grab your crimper, you go up just a slight little bit, match the circle, the gauge of the line of the wire, right? You're just going to kind of round it Simple, comes right off. And if we look here, we have nice clean metal, you know, there's no corrosion on it, so that looks like a positive connection that we'll have. And then we'll move on to the next one. Do the same thing here. Go ahead and tighten it in, about 1/2 inch, cut that off, slides right off. Now from just basically looking at the two positive and negatives, looks like we have a really clean connection. So what we'll do is, now this is going to give us a definitive answer if our pump is operational or it works. So I'll take the positive, right, which is the red, we'll connect it to that, and then we'll take the negative and hook it to that. So it's black to black, and the brown will go to the red. So we'll attach it down here. Okay, it looks like we may have a bad pump. We're not getting any sort of connection to that pump, so there may be a bad pump, is what it looks like here. So it looks like you're going to have to get a new pump, Glenn. We're going to get that replaced for you along with the switch. So now we're going to move on to hardwiring or kill switch for our live well. We're going to start with hooking up the negative to the switch. So you're going to want to make sure that you buy the crimps that match the size of the gauge of wire that you're using, so it makes the job a little bit more easier on you. And it should slide right onto all that wiring. Give it a nice twist, so twist it on there. Should be good. Yeah, that's good. I'm going to crimp this one side first. Like so. And then you're going to slide right into the existing hole on the other end. And essentially, obviously, as you know, it's going to provide that electrical connection to the switch. So you get your, make sure you get all that wiring inside that crimp so it can grab it and has a good connection. It's really important. Or you'll just have terrible hookup. Okay, see how I did that? And then once you have those two connected, what I'll do is I'll fire on the heating gun, like so, and I'll heat this one up real quick so it's out of the way. So what's happening is these connectors essentially, once you heat them up with the heating gun, they compress on the electrical line. That way, it kind of gives it a better waterproof or watertight integrity, so you don't get any water in there, and protects it as well. See how it's getting nice and clear? There we go. Okay, we'll let that cool down for a little bit, and then once that's cool, we'll take the black portion and we'll place it over the top of that and then heat that down. That gives it that double the double protection over that electrical replacement that we did. So up to this point, we've replaced the tsunami pump. We had to replace the electrical wiring. What you want to do is you want to have your wiring look similar to this, like I showed you before. You got your plastic connectors underneath, and then you have your heat shrinking over, so that gives you a little bit more protection on your electrical lines while it's exposed or underneath in here, or water will hit it on the regular. It's also really important too, once you've ran your wires and you have everything connected, you want to also, before you do any of that and heat shrink and do that, make sure your wiring is laid out internally in the live well before you do so. So for example, like this. So because Glenn connects his power for a positive and negative, so for example, negative, positive go here, right? You have to make sure that you run these wires through the port of the live well before you start adding your connectors, because you won't be able to get them through the hole back here. So that's kind of important. Make sure you lay your wiring out and then you start connecting, and then you do your checks and you go on from there. So basically I'm just showing you this is how he did it. We put the red on it to give it the implication that it's going to be a positive, and then obviously the black's going to be the negative. We'll go ahead and connect it and basically see what we got. So as you can see inside the live well, I do have lines exposed. This is just to make sure that everything is hooked up electrically first before I start hiding the wires and getting in them in a position where you won't be able to pull on them. But essentially, you take your excess wires, you want to bundle them up nice and neat, and essentially zip tie them up inside your live well up here. Glenn already has some zip ties up here for me to work with, so all I'm going to do is take a few of them right here, zip them all together and keep them out of the way for the water line in here when the live well is full. But basically, that's essentially it. We have power. He has a nice toggle we installed. So, looks like we're operational. He can get back out in the fight, catch some more fish. But if you have any questions or anything like that, or any maintenance that needs to be done on your live well or on your kayak or anything, more than welcome to come down to Pure Watersports in Oceanside, get with Chris and I, and we'll be more than welcome to help you guys out. But as far as the live well repair, that's pretty much about it. But have a wonderful day, everybody.